Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about how to rock a job interview or an internship interview or an interview for different things. So let me preface this by saying that I am by no means an expert, okay? But I've had a ton of interviews for different things, volunteer work and jobs, a couple of internships, and I have gotten all but one of them. Yay! Having said that, the one I didn't get, I wasn't the right fit, and they weren't the right fit either. So it went both ways, but I won't talk about that. So before you even get into the interview, you need to be prepared. All right. So not only do you need to know your own resume and make sure you got all your information correct, you need to know the job that you're going into. Like, what are they looking for? How does that apply to you? Like, you're selling yourself at this point. You get one chance, really, usually. Sometimes you have to do multiple interviews, phone interviews, what have you. But you get one big shot to sell yourself. And you can't do that if you don't know what they're looking for. In addition to the job that you're applying for, know some basic facts about the company. I can't tell you how many times I've gone in there with a list of questions about their company and things that I couldn't figure out on my own online. And they were flabbergasted that I would even come up with something like that, or that I'd already have done my research, which is insane to me, because why do I want to work for a company that I know nothing about? Now, this is more going to be long-term stuff. I'm not talking like, oh, I need to babysit for a couple hours, and no, I ain't no babysitters. I've done it plenty myself, but it's not short-term. This is long-term jobs. This is career fields or volunteer work, and these could be potential references on that you could add to your resume in future years if you're in high school or if you're in college. And it might not be a career job, but these are people that you want to impress and you want to have them as backup for the future. They could help you out, really. Know before you go. Know that you're qualified for the job. Make sure if they ask for a 2-year degree, you actually have a 2-year degree, because some jobs, they aren't going to let you substitute stuff. Some places will say 2-year degree or 4 years experience or what have you. If they ask for a bilingual, be bilingual. There's certain things that jobs need, and if you go in there and you aren't qualified, you're wasting your time and theirs. Also, remember it's a two-way interview. So I'll give you some sample random questions that I've been asked before, but also some questions that I think you should ask, depending on what you're looking for, of course. It'll really help to show, again, that you've done your research and that you want the job as much as they need you for the job. Be honest, super simple. Be confident in yourself. Be friendly. And check your social media, okay? Because so many times after you leave an interview, the first thing they're going to do, if they didn't do it before you even got there, is check your social media accounts. They're going to Google your name, okay? Pretty standard in today's world. If you're a female or a male and you got a bathing suit picture as your profile picture, meh. It's kind of crappy, because on one hand, it's your social media account. It's your after work hours, what you do, and that's your business, and it should be. But the other side of it is that that's how you're represented to anyone. Like their clients? I'm tripping. I've got so much to say. But their clients, they might look you up, okay? And their company has to be represented in a certain light. And you will represent that company if you get the job. So there's always something just to keep in mind in the back of your head, just to double check everything online. Make sure you're good to go.
It all starts with the interview. Side note, check out this coffee cup. It's my favorite, and I just got it a couple weeks ago.
Now you're prepped for your interview. You're looking good. You're sharp. You got a little makeup on if you're a lady. Hair's done up a little bit or pulled back in a ponytail. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy, depending on the type of job you're going for. You have to have confidence, obviously. If you want to bring in questions, you can have them printed out or handwritten. Go in there with a notebook, a blank sheet of parchment paper. I've been watching too much Harry Potter lately. But a notebook and a pen, and like you're ready to do business starting that day, okay? Leave a great first impression as soon as you walk in the door. Also, make eye contact. As soon as you walk in the door, eye contact, handshake. It astounds me when people do not want to shake my hand as a young female. That is a little rude, to be honest, in my personal opinion. But shake hands, do the thing, tell them who you are, even though they should probably already know who you're at. Know what you're good at. So go in there, again, ready to sell yourself, be able to answer some standard questions.
I had an interview where I had way less knowledge than the other girls applying, but there were a couple differences that got me ahead. So one was that one of the girls wore stilettos and a mini skirt to the interview, and this is for a construction company, all right? So maybe had the interviewer been any other person in the company other than the one female that worked there, she might have gotten the job. Heck, she probably would have. But she didn't, because as most women and most men should know, that's not exactly appropriate to wear to work every day when you work anywhere, but especially with a construction company that only has men working there for the most part. In addition, I got along great in my interview with the girl, the HR manager, and it turned out, funny enough, that we had friends in common, and we had crossed paths a couple times even though we never met, and it all worked great. But I really let my personality shine through, and I was very honest about my work experience. I was honest about a lot of things. I had more of a college education, which I will be finishing my degree in December, but I was further along in my degree than the other candidates, so that helped. But I didn't have as much experience in the field as they did, and I was honest about that, and I was also honest about the time that I was willing to put in, and I really showed that the first 2 weeks or so, once I was hired, because I learned what they expected of me, and I went online and Googled and learned a ton about roof installations and window installations and door installations and siding and all sorts of aspects of residential construction, and that
So
that
the
really
questions
helped.
I would suggest asking: insurance policy, childcare, retirement, employee turnover rate is a huge one, because that will let you know if something's going on. High turnover rate could mean that management is having issues. They don't communicate very well. They don't give constructive criticism. They don't give promotions out that often. They don't swap up your job or your task.
I worked for a tutoring company who told me in my interview that they had a high turnover rate, and they were kind of questioning why that was. I could tell them why that was after working there for maybe a week or two. All communication was solely based off text, like texting, that's it. And it would be a day or two before one of the 4 manager, owner, bosses could get back to you. And if you had a problem, you were essentially on your own to take care of it. There was no backup. There was no training. There was no, if this happens, this is what you do. There's nothing. It was like, here's a
How
tutor then.
promotions will be given out, if they will at all. Is there room to grow within the company? Can you change job positions, swap it up at some point? Long-term companies may have like a standard policy. For example,
I worked in a restaurant business, which was a commercial company. It's all over the Southeast. And they had a very high standard, shouldn't say high standard, should say more of a basic standard, but a standard nonetheless. So you go in, you apply for the job, you're there for maybe 2 weeks and you take a test. And you get a small promotion. It was a financial promotion. You also got health insurance if you wanted it. You got, you were offered more hours or more tables or whatever the equivalent was for that job position. It was like that way as long as you stayed with the company. Every 6 months or every year you got an evaluation and you took a test online, basic, what are the specials on Wednesday kind of test, but still to show that you were growing and wanted to be with the company, and they gave you a promotion or a raise as was needed, or they gave you, hey, you called out so many times, so if you could fix that, we'll reevaluate in 2 months, we'll go on from there. I like that personally, because I've worked with smaller companies where you could be with a company for 10 years and maybe have gotten 2 or 3 little raises, no promotion within the company, no recognition other than asking for a raise and then being like, oh, okay, sure, there you go, we'll give you a little bit to make sure you stick around. You have to do your research. You want to know what you're getting into before you get the job, before you invest all your time and energy and potentially education into that, and you don't want it to waste and be out 20 years later looking for another entry level job.
In addition, some other questions you might want to know the answers to: days off, vacation days, calling out, sick days. What are the rules for all of those? Do you get a certain amount? Is it flexible? Can you work from home occasionally if sick? Most people, if they're sick, they can do some work from home, answer a few phone calls, at least respond to emails.
Questions that they can ask you that might catch you off guard. I'm sure there's a list of hundreds of questions you could be asked. These are just ones that I've been asked, okay? So one was, what are some of your negative traits? Okay? Do not say things like you don't like public speaking, but you're trying to be a manager that gives bi-weekly progress reports to the whole staff. They may also ask about previous jobs. Be honest, okay? And I mean to say that be honest in how you left the job. If there was a bad instance between you and your main manager, let them know, because otherwise they might try and call your old manager, and then you're screwed when they say it was your fault. I had accused essentially a former boss of sexual harassment, and I left the job. It wasn't worth pressing charges. It wasn't anything crazy, but that was my reason for leaving the job. It was a small company. That's all I've really ever worked for the most part. And it has obviously its own issues. Whole other story for another day. But I told them that in the interview. That was my last job that I had, and I had listed the job on my resume, but I didn't put them as a reference, and they wanted to know why. Totally fair question, okay? But instead of making up some lie, I was honest with them. I gave them a brief rundown. They didn't need to know all the details of what occurred, why we ended on bad terms. Hey, I don't want you to call that company, but can you call the company before that? That would be great, or the companies that I volunteered for, or a handful of other personal references. It's just good to be honest about everything.
So the last thing I'm going to say is a lot of companies are looking for people who are good at networking or are friendly in general. Networking is so huge nowadays, and I'm not just talking about social networking, whether you blog or you vlog or you're active on Facebook or LinkedIn, what have you, okay? Being social is such a big asset within the company and working with other companies or clients. It is such a big deal. I cannot stress that enough. Thanks for hanging out with me. Time to get stuff done. Bye.